let's make a start. Uh, Questions already. So let me just do some introductions, and I'll cover that question, Elliot, in my intro. Welcome along, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to jump on a quick Zoom. I'm hoping we'll keep this just to less than 30 minutes, unless we have some really in-depth questions or confusion. But my name is Ed Jenkinson. I'm the director of coaching for Newton Youth Soccer. Oversee a lot of the programs we have at the club, including our travel program and the intramural program. But we're going to mainly focus on the travel program for our rising third graders. But you'll hear a lot from me. Generally, if you're part of this club, we also have Zach Anderson, who's the other gentleman who spoke just a minute ago. He's my colleague and technical coordinator for the club, and a big face on the field, coaching players and working with coaches, and a big kind of has a big role in the third grade program. So really glad he could join us, and you could see his face. And then I think I saw one other individual, Stephanie Griglin, on the call here, who is Stephanie is our age group coordinator, who does a lot of behind the scenes bits and pieces, especially around tryouts and some data stuff when it comes to creating teams. So Stephanie's an awesome help if you have questions for logistics or tryout information, locations. But otherwise, Zach and I are kind of the main guys when it comes to the travel program, particularly in third grade. Whereas you'll see, we try and provide a lot of additional support for our coaches and also our players to make this a really great introduction to a new sort of level in the NYS system, coming from intramural into travel, or making the decision. If you're making that decision right now, hopefully we'll answer some questions. Um, this is being recorded. We'll also share the slides um, online, but this video will be available if you want to watch it again, or you missed something, or you just want to browse through the slides. We do one of these every year. The information doesn't change too much. Um, but I felt it was important to kind of give everyone an opportunity to ask questions, or just listen to me talk about what you might experience next year as we head into third grade, and the changes that happen therein. So I think what we'll do, if you have any questions along the way, usually we do these as a webinar, and no one can be on camera and you can't talk. But this time we figured if you have a question, either raise your hand on the app here, and Zach will stop me and we'll answer the question live. Throw it in the chat and we'll type it, or repeat it and answer it. Or if that fails, unmute yourself. I think you can do that and just ask a question and we'll try and answer it. That's Stephanie. She's on the camera now. Okay, so just wanted to put this up here first. I'm not going to read through it, but it's important. These are kind of the tenets of our program, and if you haven't seen this before, these three items are kind of what we base all our decisions around. So as I'm talking about what the programs are at third grade, they always kind of come back to this, and it's something that the board at NYS we took a lot of time to think about what we're trying to do, and ultimately hoping that every player who comes into our program from first through 12th just loves the game when they're playing it and when they leave our program at the end. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the overview of the third grade travel program. Talk about the league that we play in, because right now, if you're a second grade family, you've only in NYS at least, you've only played within the NYS sort of ecosystem in Newton or Newton Fields. So how is it different? What do the tryouts look like, and how we come up with our teams for the travel program? We'll talk briefly about the intramural program. So one of the other ways on this kind of two pathways, now you have an opportunity to play in two different ways in Newton, and then I'll open it up for questions at the end if you have anything additional you want to pick our brains about. That's what we're here for tonight. Hopefully we'll answer everything we can. If we don't have an answer for you tonight, we will get one for you afterwards. Okay, so talking about the travel program, what is it? How's it different? And what are we talking about when we're talking travel? So our travel program, there's two parts to it. Essentially, we have a third grade program through eighth grade program, which is kind of our core travel program. So players, the third grade through middle school, and then we also have a ninth through 12th grade program, which is a little bit different. So I'm not going to talk too much about that tonight, but We have around 500 players, in that third through eighth grade program. So it's a big set of players, a big group. It breaks down to around 40 teams, I think we had, including our high school age kids this spring. But it's around 35 teams, third through eighth grade. So it's a lot of players, it's a lot of coaches, it's a lot of field usage, a lot of practices. So it's a big program. And third grade is kind of the starting point for that. Now, if anyone had done the little second grade development program that we ran this spring, you kind of had a taste about the differences between intramural and travel, but the third grade is our beginning point of travel, and it is for most towns that we play against. At third grade, we have a limit on the amount of teams we create. Now, we have a lot of kids who are interested in try out, but we've found over the years that not every player that comes through the system or comes to tryouts is ready for that travel program developmentally, some maturity. But so we took a decision a while ago to limit our travel program at third grade to 6 teams, which equates to around 72 players. Doesn't mean we will always have 6 teams. We may have fewer, 4 or 5, but 6 is kind of the limit we put on ourselves. Knocking around at 72 players. Oftentimes we have 100 plus players who are interested in their 10 tryouts. So there is a disconnect between the amount of players who'd like to play in sometimes and the amount of teams we field. As you progress through the grade levels, players can become more ready for the travel program. And at fourth grade, we can add a few teams here and there. So 6 isn't the limit for all the grades, but third grade, we kind of have 6 teams at a max. And as you progress through, we can add more. You have a 10-game season. So, the intramural program is 9 games and you're in Newton. This time it's a 10-game season for the travel program. In the fall, 10-game travel season in the spring. And within those 10-game seasons, you'll play 5 games in Newton and you'll play 5 group games in a neighboring town. You play games on Saturdays still. But the difference with the IAM program is the IAM program is in the morning. The travel program is in the afternoon. So you just kind of flip on times here as you go from IM to travel. And you get 2 practices a week. So in second grade right now, we don't have any additional practices during the week. So you kind of go from 0 practices to 2 if you go this pathway. But it's an opportunity for you to develop with your team, with your coach, with your teammates. And then play your game on a Saturday. So it's 3 activities a week, 10 weeks in the fall, 10 weeks in the spring. And there are this opportunity for tournaments is not limited to the travel program, but it's predominantly taken up by the travel teams that we have. You have an opportunity for additional events. So we take teams to the Fall Classic in Natick. Sometimes, or there's other tournaments, and a Memorial Day tournament. SAC just took the second graders up to Danvers, but there's also the Wellesley tournament, which is local. But there are opportunities for additional events should you want them in the travel program. Would be an additional cost. It would be based team by team. So that's kind of the overview. Our travel teams are not limited to Newton. We play in an external league. So our league is called BAYS, which stands for Boston Area Youth Soccer. And they have, oh, I've lost my speaker. Hold on. Bear with me. There you go. Continue recording. Okay. You still hear me, Zach?
Yeah, you're all good.
Okay. Had some technical difficulties there, but I'm back. All right. So they have around 1,000 boys and girls teams. So it's a big league. It's a big program. I think between Newton Youth Soccer and Newton Girls Soccer, we're 2 of the biggest clubs that participate in BAYS, and they have boys and girls teams from 3rd through 12th grade, 50 cities and towns. It's a big catchment area, and they run their league by school grade. So, if there's any players or families who have players who play in the club world, they kind of go with birth year. BAYS, there was a period of time a few years ago where there was a divide, and BAYS decided to continue with school grade as as the way they section their teams. And because we play in this league, that's why we do also. Within Bays, so within the league structure, there are four competitive divisions, 1 through 4. Interestingly, for third grade, they don't have a Division 1. They have Division 2, which is a de facto Division 1, but I don't know why they do that, but they do. So in third grade is Division 2, 3, and 4. For every other age group, there is Division 1, 2, 3, and 4. And within those divisions, there are multiple sections depending on how many teams enter the league. Typically you'll have you'll play, in your section you'll have 6 teams, and you'll play each of your opponents home and away. So 5 other teams home and away, 10 games. That's how you kind of get your 10 games. So 6 teams per section. The idea in Bays is they have, Division 1 would be the highest level division in that particular age group, and it would filter down 2, 3, and 4. And we'd enter teams into those divisions based on their competitiveness, their competitive level, how strong they are. It's sometimes a bit of a crapshoot. I mean, we don't know what other towns have. They enter their teams, we enter our teams, and we hope to get the best competitive sort of environment possible. Bays attempt to have geography coming to play when they put their groups together and their divisions, their sections. So in third grade, typically we're playing Brookline, West Roxbury, Dedham, Needham, Wellesley, Hillhouse, some of the Boston area teams as well, Brookline. And as you get higher through the Bays League and you get more competitive, and we have some really, really strong teams, and from fifth grade up, it becomes less of a kind of concern of theirs, and you might end up going to Westborough or my neck of the woods, which is King Philip, so Plainville, Rentham Way. But at third grade, you can probably expect to play very kind of local games, so nothing more than 20-25 minute drive, depending on what time you're playing and what day. And then just looking at the calendar ahead, your first games, usually Labor Day happens, and then we play that following Saturday as the first set of games. And you, as a travel team, would probably get a practice or two before that. Some coaches like to do more, and if we can give them more, we will. So, Bays is our league, so there is an external travel factor to this. But home games will be in Newton, and I wouldn't expect the travel to be much further than usually within the 95 corridor. So specifically on third grade, as I mentioned, typically we have 6 teams at a max. The teams play, so you're currently playing 5v5, and with goalkeepers, 4 on the field plus a goalkeeper, 5v5. You bump up to 7v7 for third grade, and you play that for third and fourth grade. And we have rosters 12, sometimes we have 13, but the minimum probably would be 12 players per team. So, 7 on the field. If everyone shows up, you got 5 subs. We ask for a full year commitment. So when you signed up, and if you have already signed up, your payment covers fall and spring. And that's the commitment we ask for. The teams are a full year program. It's a full team. They play fall and spring, 10 weeks in each season. All games are on Saturdays. Bays have a standard time for boys games, and that is afternoons. So typically 1 or 2:30, maybe 4 o'clock sometimes, depending on the kind of the schedule. But boys games typically are in the afternoon, and in Newton we pretty much follow that, because I know our intramural games are in the morning, so we have all our travel games in the afternoon. So if you are a third grade travel team player, you can expect the 5 home games at least to be in the afternoon on a Saturday. Now the away games are a little bit, we don't have any control over those. Other programs are told to schedule in the afternoon. Do they always have a field in the afternoon? No. So there may be some differences, but I'd expect typically Saturday afternoon games. If you have a season as wet as we've had this spring season, that's when things get a little bit sticky, and you can play. I'm sure Stephanie will tell you, playing with a fourth grader Saturdays, Sundays, Tuesday nights, Friday nights. There are occasions where makeup games are unavoidable. But all being well, you play every game on a Saturday afternoon. You have two practices a week. Now, third grade, we took a decision many years ago that we really wanted to support the transition for players going in from intramural to third grade travel, but also support the coaches that I'm sure some people know here, we have to, strong arm a little bit to volunteer and do. So we have at third grade for the fall and the spring, what we call a third grade age group night, where all of our teams, whether it's six, five, four, three, however many teams we have in the third grade program, will all practice on Wednesday nights at 5 o'clock till 6:30 at the Fessenden School. So whether you're on the top third grade team or team 5 or 6, everyone will arrive at the same time, practice together with their team. And that is something that Zach leads with his professional coach help. So him plus two other professional coaches will work with the 6 teams that we have. Now, the format sometimes changes, but essentially one pro coach between two travel teams with their volunteer coaches in support. So you have, three, four, five adult coaches working with the teams, and Zach kind of sets the schedule. Here's what the practice will look like. Here's how we can help, and it's an opportunity to coach the coaches, but also help coach the players and give them that kind of next level of coaching and support. And it's been a pretty good success. It's a good opportunity to get all the players together at the same time in the same location, kind of creates that community feel, but also gives us an opportunity to see the group as a whole, all our third grade travel team players, and have the coaches interact and kind of work together. So it's so far, I feel like it's been a good success. But you can bet on one of those 2 practices per week being Wednesday nights at the Fessenden School, 5 to 6:30. The second practice of the week would be coach dependent. So we are a volunteer coached organization. All our coaches are volunteers, parents predominantly of players on the team that they're coaching. And we kind of either give them the opportunity to pick a night that works best for them, or they'll reach out to the group as a whole and say, hey, here's the options that we have. What works best for everyone? Great, we can get most of our players here on a Tuesday, so maybe you'll go Tuesday, Wednesday. You could do a Friday, Sunday, but we give the second practice a week basically down to the volunteer coach to schedule. We have fields all over Newton, not from north to south. So it's important we try and give them a chance to help with their schedule too. Uniforms are different in the travel program. You will get if your player graduates to the travel program, you will be signed a number which typically stays with that player through their travel career. And you have a game uniform, which is an orange jersey, black shorts, black socks, and then you'd also have a travel uniform, which would be a black jersey. Sorry, practice uniform would be a black jersey and the same shorts, same socks. So 2 jerseys, one set of shorts, one set of socks, which is different to the IM program. So it's kind of a fresher, a newer look for the travel program, and they get their name on the back as well, which is kind of fun for the kids. It's a different, separate purchase. Pretty much, if you've bought a jersey before with us, you know kind of where to go and what that looks like. But the nice thing is, it's a custom piece, and we keep it for years and years and years. We don't change the design. So you buy one at third grade, maybe you get away with it for 3 years, and then you have to buy a new one at sixth grade for the final growth spurt. Maybe not, but the idea is we don't have to keep buying a jersey every year. They graduate to a size 4 ball. Up to now, you've been using a 3, so you get one size bigger ball. We do ask kids to bring a ball to all events. And then, as I mentioned before, on this last point, teams do stay together for the fall and the spring, so it's a year commitment. I did put an asterisk there because there are occasions where players, we go through the tryout process and players may be misplaced. And if it's an egregious misplacement, either they're way too high or they're way too low. There can be some adjustments mid-season, or someone moves out of the state and we need to replace a player and add a player, and maybe what we like to do is promote from within. So there are occasions where teams can change, but only kind of in some extreme circumstances. Some age groups will have 0 changes fall to spring. Our 5th grade age group this year had a lot of changes, and it just kind of is luck of the draw, we seem to think. Tryouts, you'll see when I talk about tryouts, they're not a perfect science. So, we can sometimes get things wrong. And if it's an egregious misplacement, we do try and fix it when we can. Zach, no questions. This is incredible, huh?
Nothing, yeah. Nothing yet.
Okay, let's talk quickly about tryouts then. So, this is kind of perfect timing because our first tryout is on Sunday. So if you have signed up, Stephanie has already sent out one communication about kind of like save the date, and then by Friday, when we close registration on Friday, you'll receive a second email with kind of here's your tryout time. Um, so the first one is on Sunday, and we have two tryouts for the third grade program. Um, we ask every player to attend both. The first one is this Sunday, and then the second one I think is the Saturday of Father's Day weekend, or the third Saturday in June. Um, and the reason we do that is because, quite frankly, we don't have the data on our second grade players that we do on our current third grade players. I mean, we know them, they've been in the program for fall and spring. Whereas second grade, you can do season by season. We just don't have the data. So to give ourselves an opportunity to know as much as we can about our third graders, we ask for two tryouts. They do the same thing at both tryouts. We have instead of four sets of data, we have eight sets of data, and it allows us hopefully to make the best placement possible. The most competitively challenging but appropriate place for all of our players. Um, and I know we've had questions from parents saying, "Hey, I can't be there this date, but I can be there the second date." So I think to answer that question before we get it, if only one is if you can only attend one, then just attend one. One tryout is better than no tryouts. Two tryouts is obviously more advantageous for knowing exactly who the player is. Because you come to one tryout and you're just not feeling it that day, and that's the only data we have, and that dictates the placement. But if you have two tryouts, we kind of get the better picture. So we do two tryouts to try and be as accurate as we can with our team placements. So if you can make both, please do. Um, but if you can only make one, that's the data we'll go with. Our tryouts are drop off, so our players, and this is a general thing for all kind of events. Players play the most free and the most them when they don't have mum, dad, or whoever watching them from the sideline. So it is a drop off. You can check in, and we'll take care of them for the hour they're with us, and they're just going to play. So we'll have plenty of Stephanie will be there, I will be there for the third grade, and we have four evaluators. So it's a drop off, drop and go. It's about an hour. So the time slot is an hour and a half, but we have about an hour of play. And what we do is set up 4v4 fields, no goalkeepers, and we just play. They'll play four games. Each game will last 10 to 12 minutes, maybe more if we need it. And when they check in, they'll get a little wristband, and they'll basically just bounce from each of the four fields, get seen by four evaluators, and they're just looking for the player as a whole, their technical ability, passing, dribbling. They're looking for their awareness on the field. They're looking for how they are as a person. Um, they'll be doing this blind. They won't know these players, and I don't evaluate. It's kind of an independent person looking at these players for the first time and seeing who they are. We do elicit some feedback from the IM coaches from second grade, but we pretty much weight the tryout score the most. We look for some tertiary information, some supporting evidence. Sometimes there might be some tiebreaker information we can garner, but the tryout is kind of the be all and end all when it comes to placing our players. So they come to tryouts. For tryout one, we'll send out a second email for tryout two. The time might change. We might ask you to come at a different time depending on what we kind of see. And then we kind of go into number crunching mode, where we try and create the teams, we try and match up coaches and see if we can to have the six teams that we'd like, or maybe it's more appropriate and have five or four. And we try and do all that and get it out to you families, and communicate it out to coaches and players and parents by the week of the July 7th. So get through that holiday, and hopefully we're ready to push it out and say, hey, here's your team, or it wasn't right for you this year. So we place players as much as we can on a developmentally appropriate team. If we don't feel it's a right fit for a player this year. The process is we would transfer you to the intramural program, refund the difference in program fee. Um, well, it's really hard to give you specific feedback, but again, dictated from the scores we have from tryouts, we'll just say, it was deemed that it's not the right time this year. I think that's all I wanted to cover on tryouts. Zach, anything you'd add?
No, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, that's essentially everything.
And then talking to the intramural program, so this is kind of the second sort of way you can go at third grade is if you're not placed in the travel program for this based on these tryouts, we'll auto transfer you into the intramural program. We'll refund half the difference in the fee. Or you can say, you know what, there's not the IM program's not for me, and we'll refund the whole money. So there's no commitment here. If the travel program doesn't work out, we'll refund the fee, or you can just ask for a refund. The intramural program is great. For as long as I've been involved, we've had 8 teams from with 12 to 14 kids per team. It's a big program, and it mirrors a lot the what you'd get in the travel program. The only real difference is you're just in Newton. It's Newton v Newton, so there's no travel to neighboring towns. It's a slightly less intense environment, right? Because you're not going to other places. You're not seeing other towns and unfamiliar surroundings. It is in Newton with our Newton refs, but they play 7v7. It's a 9-week season versus 10 weeks, so you do skip that holiday weekend, and it's a great breeding ground for the next travel prep player. So, we often get players who attend tryouts for third grade, do not get selected or placed on a team, are bummed about it, and we talk about it. Go and play the intramural program for a year, 7v7, really kind of get their juices flowing, come back at fourth grade and fly into a team, no problem. So, if that is a scenario for anyone here, I wouldn't feel like it's the end of the road for travel players who do not get placed at third grade. It's not the end of the travel journey. The IM program is a great development environment, less pressure. Players can feel more confidence, get used to the idea of bigger fields, different kind of play style, and come back at fourth grade. Practice is once a week, so you do get a practice once per week in Newton, and then you will get Saturday morning games. So they play at 9 a.m. Oak Hill. But the second grade program is there currently, but it's 9 a.m. Oak Hill. You get one practice a week, so one fewer practice, one less game, a lot less travel, and the fee is obviously different. And it's season to season, so you play in the fall. If you want to play in the spring, it's two different commitments. So you don't want to play in the fall, and you come back in the spring. So that's kind of the differences. But another kind of great program, good development program, great coaches in this program, lots of fun, and players will be placed like in second grade, school based. So players, friends, buddies from school, if possible. What do we do? That's 30 minutes. 30 minutes of me talking, Zach, at a camera is weird. But
Not
that's
bad.
kind of guys, that's kind of everything. I mean, please, if you have questions, you can either unmute yourself and ask away, or raise your hand, or put it in the chat. Stephanie, anything you want to add from your end?
No, I'll just say, as Ed mentioned, I have a fourth grader, so he's been in the program for 2 years, loves his team, plays super competitive soccer. So we're pretty committed to the program, and my younger son's excited for next year.
Zach, anything you want to chime in with before we?
No, I think you got everything covered with my biggest thing was the tryouts, but the tryouts seems pretty free flowing, so it should be good to go.
Okay, and then the last thing I'll say is, on top of the work that Stephanie does and what we do on the field, I mean, the last point is coaches. So, if there's anyone here that'd like to coach, we're always looking for new coaches. 6 teams is usually our aim with this program. I'm not saying we will do 6, but 6 is our aim. But that is also kind of dependent on having adult coaches to run the team. So, we provide the help on the Wednesdays. but having a game day coach and the other practice is always important. So I had a question from John here. Does the intramural program also practice on Wednesday evenings, or is that coach dependent? So the IM program is coach dependent. The one practice a week, you can schedule that whenever they want, or with the team kind of weighing in on those decisions. We do have for third and fourth grade intramural players, we do have an additional technical training program, which is completely professionally coached. It is an additional cost. I think it's like, I can't even remember, $75 or something, but it's an 8-week skills-based program with a professional coach. We use the New England Revolution, but if you are in the intramural program, it is a lot more parent coach guided for their practice. All right, that's a wrap. Thank you everyone for joining. I will send this out along with the slides, and then my email is all over the website. So is Zach and Stephanie. You'll hear from her kind of next steps for Sunday if you're coming to tryouts, and hopefully see you then. All right. Thanks, Zach.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you soon.